I'll start recording. Oh, you started recording. Look at you. It's almost
It's
like I'm
already
your
recorded.
host.
Now we just got to ease into the introduction piece as opposed to have to be all fancy and say stuff because it's already recording.
Got it. Okay, cool.
It'll be good. You do it. So, hey, I'm Terry Bain. With me is my pal Jeff Bajorek. Today we're going to talk about the idea of increasing external awareness. Where I come from, we've got two types of awareness. We've got to be aware internally of the things that are going on with us so we can be at peak performance. But on the flip side, we got to make sure that our customers and our business partners and our network are aware of the things we do. So Jeff and I are going to have a very intriguing conversation about that. And I'm personally very excited. How about you, bud?
Oh, really excited. I love these things on Monday mornings. It's really a great way to get the week started. And, when you talk about the internal awareness as well as the external awareness, I think the important part when you're growing your business is matching those two up, right? You got to find out, you have to be aware of what value you can bring to the network of people that you've created, and you have to be aware of what it is that they're looking for. So when you can match those two concepts up, that's where you're really in your sweet spot. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today.
I think you couldn't be more bang on, bud. I think you couldn't be more bang on. So from my perspective, it kind of starts in you're a sales coach and enabler and a guy that helps people kick butt in that realm. So when I say funnel, right, You know all about that funnel. And so we got to kind of get that thing, I don't know about tightened up, but at least outlined and defined, right? So at the highest form of the funnel, the top thing is we need to understand what you do, right? And you need to make sure that not only are you clear on what you do and who you serve and who can help you get there, but that others are too. So it kind of gets into that messaging piece. Then once you have that messaging, you have to take it to the specific audience that needs to hear it. So to me, that's kind of how we're going to work our way through this. And as you and I briefly discussed this morning, we're going to use ourselves as examples to kind of help people understand what this process looks like and how they can do it for themselves so they can make sure that they're getting maximum value out of listening to this.
Right.
Perfect. So go ahead.
Well, no, I just said good stuff. Let's rock.
All right, so talk to me, man. What do you do at that highest level? What problems do you solve? Why do people pay you?
Well, I help people get out of their own way when it comes to sales. You've got a lot of people, and I've not met very many people. It's a maybe count on one hand how many people feel they were born to get into sales, born to grow a business, and they've just known from the very beginning where they come into this profession, right? So most people like me kind of fall backward into it. And it's an opportunity to utilize your technical skills in a different way. So people get started thinking that they've got to be someone that they're really not. And what I do is I change people's minds about that. On the flip side, there are also professional salespeople who have been doing what they do for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And they continue to employ the same tactics, the same techniques, the same strategies. They keep doing the same things, expecting the same result, forgetting that the world is changing, the way people buy things changes. And without adapting to that, they're putting themselves back in their own way by continuing to insist on doing the things that got them where they are, right? So what got you here is not necessarily and probably not going to get you there. So what the thing that I do is I come in, I ask questions, we sit down, we talk about what your buyers are looking to do and whether or not your strategies are good, but just not being followed up on, or they're not diligent enough, or they're not hitting the right buttons, which tees up your awareness here. Or there are people who think that they have to be someone other than what they really feel most comfortable being. And that's not a way to make a connection. So that's kind of both sides to that coin. I help people get out of their own way.
Help people get out of their own way when it comes to sales, right? Not necessarily relationships, not necessarily finance, but whatever the case may be.
Well, the selling and relationships are very tightly intertwined, so that's probably a blab for another day. But I'm with you.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So, all right. So, in a succinct, very crystallized notion of it, you help people get out of their own way with the idea that if they do, they will make more sales,
Correct.
right? Because ultimately, that's what we care about is them making more sales.
Well, and there's so many times that, you look at the problem and okay, why isn't your business growing? Why aren't you? Well, and it's right there in front of you, but you were looking at something bigger, right? You were looking at something farther down the road. You thought it was something much more substantial than it really is. And it comes down to the fact where, well, I haven't put myself in front of any new people who could tell me yes, or I've been delivering a message that isn't congruent with what my dream client would even want, or something. There's so many ways to be distracted, right? So this awareness talks into, or it comes right on the heels. The focus is, there's so many things that can distract us, and every article you read talks about having a social media presence and all your marketing and multiple channels and this and this and this. Okay, what are you marketing? Oh,
What are you marketing?
oh,
Right. And if you're not marketing the solution, then that actually solves somebody's real problem.
right.
Why are you marketing it?
Right. So what's your solution? Or are you just posting? Right? Are you posting on every channel trying to be ubiquitous when you don't have a message worth posting on any channel because you don't know what your ideal customer really wants? So are you solving a problem? Do you even know what that problem is? And that's it always starts back way closer than you really think it should.
I think that's absolutely important, right? What problem do you solve? And is it really a problem, right? Or is it just something that you happen to be good at? So I run into that in my own world, right? I've come very close to, yeah, that's great, but nobody thinks that's a problem.
Right.
So if it's not a problem for them, they're not going to pay for it. Running around being the master networker or networking guru or whatever people wanted to call me was great for brand recognition, for name recognition. Stellar. Absolutely wonderful. What it's not great for is getting paid, because most people do not have a budget for networking. And if they do have a budget for networking, it consists of, this is how much we pay this group per year. Not, I'm going to get trained on how to network more effectively. Not, I'm going to set up a networking strategy so I'm not wasting time at these events, right? So you got to be making sure that not only is it a problem you solve in your mind, but more importantly, it's a problem in your customer's mind, and they're willing to pay for it.
Absolutely.
So let's head to that target audience, right? Mm-hmm. Who are the people that have this problem that you solve?
Well, there are a lot of people, but mostly what I look for are, or who I look for are people who were professionals like I was in a very specific industry, and have found themselves, hey, I think I can do that. I'm bored where I'm at right now. I'm going to go and I'm going to try this selling thing. What always surprises me is how easy people think selling is. And, oh, I see that guy. He shows up to work, for a couple hours and leaves the office. He's always got his golf clubs in his car. Like, I got to be able to try that. Oh, I can do that. I mean, this, and it's, people don't understand how hard the work is. And, that lesson was instilled in me very early on. I sat down after a couple of months. I was with my hiring manager and I was frustrated. And he said, "What are you frustrated about?" I said, "Well, I'm a bright guy. I can do this kind of stuff. I know that I've got some talent here that can be used." And he said, "Jeff, you've been doing it for 3 months." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, how long did it take you to get your college degree?" I said, "Well, 4 years." He said, "Okay. And then you got your license, you passed your certification, you're ready to go. And then how did you feel?" Right? I mean, did you know it all even after 4 years? said, oh yeah, no, yeah, okay. Message received, right? Like selling, like any other profession, takes a ton of dedication and a lot of hard work, and you've got to be thinking about it constantly. It goes beyond that 10,000 hour rule, right? For any kind of dedicated practice. So, yeah, I look for people. I mean, and right now, I like people who are getting into that and who may be new to selling and don't understand where to start. I also like working with people, like I mentioned before, who have been doing this for a while and are just kind of stalled out. They've reached a plateau. And I think that plateau comes for a couple reasons. One, they're tired of doing the continued work because it is a lot of hard work. Or two, they are not in touch with the way the environment has changed. You know, we get into those ruts. You get into those, not even slumps, but you find yourself
This
making
is the way we've always done it.
well, and not only is the way we've always done it, but after a while, once you've reached a certain level of success and you got enough seniority with the company and you just need to grow 5% every year or 10% every year, don't grow 12, just grow 10.5%. Just grow 8% because that's enough to keep my job. And I like things and they're cushy and they're comfortable. And then all of a sudden there's a management change. And it's like, yeah, no, this isn't working. Right. And, you know, you fall into those very comfortable, we used to call them milk runs, right? Or on Thursday morning, I'm going to hit my best customer, my second best customer, my third best customer. I'm going to have 3 very important conversations with my best customers. Yeah. You're going to have coffee twice and lunch once, and you're going to maybe take an order. Right. And then you're going to head home early, or that's your golf league night. So you need to go hit an extra bucket of balls or whatever it is. And you're not actually doing the work to grow your business. You're just maintaining your relationships there. And there's always a way to grow. And that is, I like digging into those, the problem's really right in front of my face, but I can't see it kind of issues.
So it's funny, you talk about people that kind of get into sales because they think it's going to be just easy, right? Because they didn't necessarily watch what the salespeople in their company were doing, but they saw what they thought the salespeople in their company were doing. A good friend of mine started a marketing company with 2 other friends a while back, and they were certain that that sales piece was going to be absolutely fantastic, easy, and to Carolyn's point from earlier, or just from this message recently, they don't see the amount of time that relationship building takes. As a marketing person, as a creative director, you get wheeled into the office. There's a dozen people sitting around the room. You present your big sky idea. Everybody claps like you're the most awesome thing in the world. They wheel you back out of the room. And you close the deal, right? You're the one that closed the deal because of that presentation. No one has any idea how many months it took to get that many butts and seats in that room. And that's the challenging part, man. So, but I like the fact that you help solve that. So as you're thinking about who to go after, who to target, right? You're looking at professionals that were in a different profession, right? You were in the physical therapy space. You weren't in the physical therapy. You were in medical equipment.
Well,
or were you in both?
I was in the physical therapy space before I got into medical device sales. So I had that technical knowledge. I spoke the language of orthopedics. I had some relationships with people who would ultimately be my customers, which is typically, that's how most people start out in sales. They're like, wait a second. So what's the hardest thing? What is the most difficult thing about getting into sales? It's access, right? That's why prospecting is so important, but why nobody likes to do it, because there are gatekeepers and phone calls to make and, questions to ask, right? So when you come in and you technically speak the knowledge or speak the language, you have the knowledge, you have a handful of relationships, and you know how to interact. It's a good starting point. And that's in automotive, that's in food, that's in, medical, that's in any industry, right? Being able to dig in and roll your sleeves up and not just be a sales guy who comes in and does that. Right? There's just a fast talking, big glad hander with a great smile can, sell a refrigerator to an Eskimo kind of person. That's not what it is anymore. It's to an earlier comment over here on the side. It's about authenticity and knowing that you have an understanding of the problem that you need to solve from a technical standpoint, as well as just, hey, here's my marketing brochure. Someone put this really pretty picture on a piece of paper and it's supposed to help you. I say it all the time. If you can't sell better than a piece of paper, you're in the wrong field.
I like the idea of being able to roll your sleeves up and get a little bit dirty with your customer, right? Because that shows that you're in it to win it with them.
Yeah.
And when you can actually do that, you talk about going out and having coffee to maintain relationships. You don't even have to go do that anymore. You've already strengthened that relationship at such a level that most of your competition couldn't even touch it.
Well, and
that's an interesting point.
Well, and I've been in that situation, and it was really good. I mean, I had, my biggest customer and they're still friends of mine to this day, even after I left the industry. That was part of my job, was to show up every week, check inventory, look at what was coming up, make sure that they were prepared for what they needed to do for the upcoming week or 2 weeks. So sometimes that's very, very important. But the thing is, do you have a role, or are you just having coffee? Are you moving a process, or are you maintaining a process? Are you really getting something done? If you didn't go to that coffee meeting, and this is really the truth for any meeting, but if you didn't go to that meeting, would the process still continue without you? And if you don't really serve any purpose there, then you got to question what you should be doing. And then to RJ's point earlier on, I mean, what's the difference between a high value activity and a low value activity? You got to take a hard look at it, and you've got to say, well, I guess if I didn't do this, would things still continue? And then is there something else? I mean, you got to look in the mirror and really think about that and be honest with yourself. And most people don't like doing that because it's fun to have that coffee meeting or that lunch meeting, especially when somebody else is paying for it. Right? I mean, what kind of value are you really bringing with that, other than a cup of coffee or a turkey sandwich?
It's maintenance, man. I'm just maintaining the customer, Jeff. I'm just doing what they need, right?
Sure.
Just making sure.
Keep telling yourself that, Terry. I'm gonna go. Right. I'm gonna go grow my business.
I'm doing all the heavy lifting on things that I already have done.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Your competition. Your competition's not doing that. Right.
I wonder. Some of them probably are. All right. So now we want to talk about how to identify these people. We talked about who they are or what they look like. Now, how do we find them? How do we go out and make sure that our message is in front of them? So based on what you're talking about, Jeff, if you're looking at people that are transitioning from being the doers and the implementers and the hands in the office, in the docs, right, the relationships that you have, and you're going from being in that space to going into the sales, there's a couple of people that you probably want to start building relationships right now, because they're the ones that are flipping those people from being the hands-on executioners into the business drivers and business developers. And I always look at sales recruiters as an excellent example. Mm-hmm. The challenge with that is salespeople, most salespeople, not all salespeople, most salespeople think they're good, right? They think they know their stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They don't think they need it.
No.
All right?
No.
And I know you, right? You don't work with, I suck and I want to get good.
Right.
You work with, I'm great and I want to get better. Isn't that kind of your goal?
Right. I mean, ideally, I'd love to work with people who are so self-aware that they realize that there's untapped potential for themselves, right? Who wouldn't love that? I'm really motivated. I'm ready to rock. Let's go. I know I'm good. And I don't even worry about my quota or my budget because that's hit by the 15th every month. I just want to know how to take that next step. But the fact of the matter is there aren't very many people like that out there. Okay. So I like to network with sales managers. I like to network with the people who see the numbers, right? And who see who actually see the raw data, because the numbers don't like to lie. You're really good, but you're not performing. So if you're really good and you're not performing, that means there's a gap there that needs to be bridged. And, I saw a number recently. I've seen it actually a couple of times. It's something like 45% of salespeople actually accomplish their sales goals for the year. So more than half of the sales force, the collective sales force out there, is actually performing to expectation. And I know that there are some wacky numbers out there. I've been given numbers to hit that are absolutely ridiculous, and I just tune them out, and I grow, as much as I can, as fast as I can. And, you don't let that demotivate you, but they're not off by that much. And there's no way that half the numbers are off by that much. So what is it that I can do and to hit that number? And what is it that I can do to come in, work with an organization, a team of people, 10 or 15 people in an organization at the same time, and say, all right, what are you guys doing? How's it working? And why isn't it working? And the benefit that I have coming in as someone from a third party is I don't have to be beholden to any corporate culture. Right. And you got to be you got to be, you got to be polite. You've got to, don't say anything that's going to get you thrown out of the room or that your mom wouldn't be proud of you for saying. Right. But I can come in and say, why do you do it this way? I'm sorry, I'm the new guy, but please explain to me why you do it this way. More often than not, people are going to say, well, that's just how we do it. And then I say, well, let's talk about why we should do it or shouldn't. And that is the first thing that happens when the light bulbs go on immediately. And it's like, I didn't know we were allowed to question that. Well, as a matter of fact, not only are you allowed, they brought me in to ask that question. So now let's get to work. And now what you have are people who don't see opportunities. They see opportunities instead of dead ends because they can approach it from a different point of view. And I think there's a ton of value in that. And, that's really what I like to do. And once you've got the ability to say that, and you've got a blank slate in front of you, well, now we can get to work. And now those people are more encouraged. They're more aware of what they're capable of. And, now they're going to start taking those next steps.
Alexander, I want to talk about that in a minute. I'll get right back to you. The couple of things, Jeff, that you mentioned, the Pareto Principle is pretty clear, 80-20 rule, yep. Right? So 20% of your people are doing 80% of your work. So 45% hitting quota for the year seems a little bit high almost, right? If you think about it. And I think it's cool. And Alexander hits on this point. Back to these, the high level tests and the low level tests. He says, my problem is getting bogged down with all the administration and staying focused on revenue generating activities. And man, I'll tell you, I can't tell you how often I'm like, oh man, I got to write this blog post. It's 1:30 on a Tuesday. There couldn't be a better time to be out making calls or meeting with people than 1:30 on a Tuesday, but I'm writing a blog post. Now, writing a blog post has a ton of value to me, right? Because it attracts people. I can share it. It talks about what I do, and it raises this awareness that we're talking about. But it's not the right time to do it.
Sure.
So you're going to,
Sure. No, I'm with you. I'm just rolling. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you're going to have to do administration. There's stuff. I got to invoice people. I got to put together proposals. I got to chase people down to get payment. Those things have to happen too, but you've got to be doing those when it's not the peak time for whatever you're aware for whatever that activity that you need to be doing to drive that business is. The other thing we need to look at is how can we outsource some of those tasks? How can you delegate those to, it's not Odesk anymore, but there's there's freelancer, there's a couple of different groups, there are people that can actually manage your payroll, manage whatever that issue is. And you got to let folks do that too, I think. Yeah. You have anybody that you outsource stuff to that you let touch your world?
My wife.
Your wife?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of
always a good partner.
Yeah, she's my partner. So we she does some things that she can do and that she's better at. And I learned that early on. I mean, 6 months into my business, I'm trying to do this and this and this and all of it. And it's like, how do you're spread so thin. And then it's like, I I opened my own business so I could play golf every once in a while, right? So now I can't even do that because I got to do. And fortunately, there's not a whole lot of payroll when it's just us. But it's things like scheduling social media. It's things like making sure I write all the time. It's things like making sure I can keep up with some of the administrative stuff that I still have to do. And being a small business, I don't have a whole lot of bureaucracy, certainly, or forms or HR or anything like that. But yeah, I had to get rid of some of those things. And even now, what I'll do is before I write or before I publish something, I'll send it to her. I'm like, hey, does this look right? Does this look, and she's a very, very talented writer, but also a very good critical eye, and she knows what I need to hear. So we had some great conversations even this weekend about some of the stuff that I've been working on. So yeah, and as I grow, there will be more to outsource, certainly, right? And I mean, you the same way, because you when you get to the point to where you're speaking as much as you want to. I mean, right now, I know you speak pretty regularly, but you want to speak a little bit more when you get to that. And that's, to your point, kind of a reference back to what you were saying before. There are speakers out there that get 25, 30, 50 grand for an hour to come in. And people say, what's this? I'm not hiring this guy for 50 grand for an hour's worth of work. No. It's not an hour's worth of work. It's all the prep, all the writing, all of the awareness building, all of that stuff that goes into that. And you can't be doing that if you're worried about chasing someone down for paying you, or if you're worried about updating your LinkedIn profile, or, just doing everything ties back to my website. And I know I need to spend 45 minutes on my website just updating links that change every week, right? I mean, it's stuff like that can be kind of taken off of your plate.
That's the old joke, right? Plumber walks into the house, got 3 inches of water on the floor,
right?
Walks over, bangs on a pipe, and the and the homeowner is like, "Wow, thank you for fixing this. How much do I owe you?" And he's like, $2,000. $2,000? All you did was bang on a pipe. He's like, "All right, I'll itemize this for you." Yeah. It was $10 for banging on the pipe and $1,990 for knowing where to bang.
Exactly.
That's it, man.
Love it.
And it's good, right? And so creating that awareness, and you just kind of alluded to it right now, is that content. So we talked about understanding what your message is, what problem you solve, and then who you're trying to reach, mm-hmm. right? And then where you can find them. And I don't think we hit on that enough.
No.
Right? But there's groups on LinkedIn, there's groups on Facebook. As you were talking about that, Jeff, I kept thinking about the Marketing and Sales Executive Group of Detroit, right? The M.S.E.D. I don't even know if you're familiar mm-hmm. with them, but there's a LinkedIn group and they've got a Facebook group and they do face-to-face outings from time to time. And that's a really good organization for you to be a part of, because you're target rich. It's a target rich environment for you. Sure. And it's difficult because there isn't a lot of business development groups that focus on sales managers,
right,
or directors of sales, right? The sales reps are running around and they're going out and doing things,
right?
But there's no real group for director of sale level people, and they've got their own unique challenges, and there should be an opportunity for them to connect and get together. But that would be a really cool place for you to spend some time.
Cool.
And then this last piece is this content, right? So it's gotta tie into that message piece and who you're going after. It's got to be put in front of those eyeballs that need to see it. Mm-hmm. But it's got to be relevant. It's got to be consistent. Mm-hmm. It's got to be relatable. And the biggest challenge I think people have is we're all over the map sometimes, right? We live this 360-degree life. Stuff happens in our world and we have outrage and we get mad and we post all about that, and how our feelings are about things that happen may be incongruent with how our things are about the business that we're going after. And so we've got to figure out how to temper that too.
Right.
Great, throw a little tirade, throw a rant, but delete that stuff, because the world we live in now, the people that you are targeting, the people that you are going after are looking at you, and they're looking at you on social, and they're checking you out and doing a deeper dive on you than you can even imagine a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of times.
Oh yeah. When people Google you, what do they find? And I mean, with you specifically, right? You've got a name in common with some other people who are rather unsavory to find on Google, right? Nothing you could do about that. But but that's the thing, because people are going there. People are going there. And Jeff, my target customer is not on social media right now. Lies, false. Check that attitude at the door. They may not be on Instagram. They may not be on Snapchat. Okay, that's you don't necessarily have to try to approach people that way, although it's a good approach for a lot of businesses. But when people hear about you, the first thing they do is they pull this little computer out of their pocket and they look you up and they see what you're going to find. And what are they going to find? Right? So put something out there for them to find. And if you are Google anonymous, can't trust you. That's the thing that people don't get. If you are anonymous on the internet, then you don't exist to me, because you certainly, one, you haven't done anything important enough, or two, are you trying to be anonymous? I don't know about that. Right? So, and that's the culture of the people who are going to be buying for the next 30 years. I don't care how it's been done the last 30 years. I get frustrated when they dump a bag full of phone books near my mailbox, right? Hopefully it's on a Wednesday, so it's not as long of a trip for me to take it all the way back across the street to the house. I can just dump it at the curbside recycling, right? And then that's people don't do it that way anymore. So you gotta take a look at things. You have to constantly be reevaluating. And I like what in the concept, or in the content here on the side, the column here on the side. There you go. There's the word. Fraser says you pick one tactic, execute it for a week, and then try another, and then another. It's this routine and regular reevaluation of everything that you're doing.
Yeah, Fraser shared a list ways to raise awareness of your products and services and solutions. So he's got a post there, and he's got a list of different ideas that we can all take a look at. So 102 and a half ways. That's I was wondering where that 102.5 went. That's a lot of ways, man. So basically almost 2 years worth of things that you can do is what he just shared with us.
Sure. Yeah, if you're doing one a week, yeah. That's awesome.
If you're doing, that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to checking that out. The number one thing that I fall into in terms of sharing, right, in terms of putting this information out on social, in terms of capturing eyeballs, is the one and done mentality. Okay, I posted this, now I'm done.
Right.
Right? And let's be real, man. Facebook limits the reach like crazy, throttles it down on your profile, even worse on your page. You can find it in a group, but if you go look through any of the groups now, I spent some time looking at the Motor City Connect group, the photos inside of it, and it looked like a Barfarama advertising festival, dude. It was gross. It was gross. So people are just kind of running and gunning and shooting stuff out.
Sure.
And because it's on the checklist, right? I did this.
Yeah.
And now I'm done. But that's not the way to do it. If you want to increase your engagement, increase how you engage with others. It is the single best piece of advice I can give you on that space.
That's really good.
Right? So you have to have a list of things on your page for people to see, but you don't have to go around and promote that. When you get the kind of the baseline of who you are and what you do and what you share and what you talk about, so people can go, oh, all right, well, I like these 7 or 8 things. Then start going after people, engaging on their page as that person, as that page, as that profile.
Right.
And start engaging and sharing and liking and commenting and asking questions and talking to them. And you can reference your stuff, right? You can say, hey, I talked about this over here, and share your links. Right. But the more you do that, the more engaged you are with them, the more they'll end up being engaged with you. And that is honestly one of the best ways I know to grow awareness.
Well, what are you doing there? You're developing a relationship. right?
Right.
And you even teased it a little before. Sales and relationships are tightly intertwined. There are very few industries, if any anymore, where it's a one and done sale. Here you go, buy my thing. Don't ever buy it again. Don't tell your friends. I don't want any of that. No, just here, take this. Give me your money and I'll give you this thing and we're done, right? No, it doesn't work anymore. So you have to develop this relationship. And when you try to, why would anybody pay you to come and speak, Terry? Right? It's because they know you, they like you, they trust you, they understand your message, and they know what they're going to get every time. But if someone just goes to your webpage and says, "Oh, okay, cool," no one clicks right away. Right? There has to be some back and forth. There has to be some kind of an understanding, some kind of a connection made, some kind of a relationship developed. And then once they understand what you're all about, then they'll say, you know what? I think that message is transferable to a room full of people instead of just me. We should sit down and have that conversation. And this kind of thing takes time, right? So that's the other thing, is that when salespeople especially get into this thing where, I've got this number to hit and I don't think I can hit it. And, that's not going to work because I've got to hit it in 10 days. Well, that's way too short of a term to be looking at things, right? We start thinking the end of time instead of the end of the month, and start thinking about what you're doing going forward. And that relationship development, I can't believe there's this debate out there about whether social selling works, right? What is social selling? I don't know why it's even been termed in such a way that it turns so many people off. But what's our job in sales? And you're in sales too, because you're selling your own stuff, yourself to speak, is, we got to develop some kind of relationship. I need to know where you're coming from. I need to be aware of what it is that you're up against and aware of whether or not I can help you. You put those two things together, great. Who cares if it's over Twitter? Right? The object at that point is to build enough awareness over Twitter so that you can actually have a phone call, or maybe trade emails, or maybe sit down and have a cup of coffee with that person instead of on your milk run on a Thursday morning.
I think you're bang on with that, because honestly, relationships have to start somewhere, because ultimately in the end game, we're doing business with people we know, like, and trust, right? And no one ever does business with people they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once in a while, right? Maybe once in a while.
If the value is there beyond the dislike, right? Or, you know what I mean?
Yep. People are rarely doing business with people they don't trust, right? They may end up not trusting them, but nobody gets into business and says, man, I don't trust you, but let's go ahead and make this work. Right?
Right.
And you really, unless it's a small buying a pack of gum scenario, you're not doing business with people you don't know. So building these relationships is so key. And social has really kicked a lot of butt in terms of being able to expand the number of relationships we can create, the number of relationships we can maintain, the number of relationships that can just happen through serendipity, right? We've met a few new people on this blab today, and they've met us.
Right.
Right. So I think that part's very cool. Now, they may be gone by now. I don't really know.
Apparently, there are 6 people online, according to you and me, who are watching us right now. So thank you to
yes,
the 4 other
that's
people.
True.
This has been really cool, too. I'm watching the live chat on the side. There's a lot going on. So everybody's contributing.
Fraser's got good info, man.
That's a lot of fun.
So I think at this point, we summarize, right? What's that message, right? What do you offer? What problem do you solve? Put that together, crisp, concise, clear.
Yes.
Know who you've got to get it out to. Who's your end client? Who's the one that's writing you a check? And then who are the people that could refer you to the people that are going to write you a check? To me, that's the difference between a retail referral and a wholesale referral. Retail referral writes the check. Wholesale referral hits you with a bunch of people that can write you a check.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so once you know who those folks are, where do you find them? And you can go to groups, you can go to associations, you can be online and find them.
Yep.
You can actually call if you know their title and just reach out. Painful way to go. You can do it.
Right.
Right? And then get that information out that's congruent, it's collected, it's somewhat consistent, where you're actually reaching these people where they are on a regular basis. You do a good job of that with your newsletter and your blog.
Thanks.
So that's what's up, man. SlideShare is mega. Mega. I want to use the word mega more in a sentence.
Yeah, I
Um,
like it.
all right. So
Okay.
that's it, man. Let's cut this. Let's see if anybody wants to hop in. Again, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. It's difficult.
All right. The record.